Alright, YouTube, I thought it was time to clue people into a few things about me because I haven't really talked about them before. I don't know exactly why, but they are things that people should probably know. I alluded partially to this when I did my. When I basically talked with the people on Night Watch Radio. I don't know if many of my subscribers actually watched that though, so I should probably talk about it here. I think I did make one video before where I talked partially about this. The events when I was a kid, when I saw the demon Stolas perched on the basically side of my wall above or near the window, spewing smoke and making weird noises, which I partially replicated on the channel advertisement that I've got by whistling and then really heavily editing my whistle. I was able to make a sound that actually approached that sound. I'll fiddle around with the audio and try to see if I can perfect it, and then I'll like call it Stolas Call or something like that. But anyway, I was never exposed to the occult when I was a child. I was never exposed to the idea of Satanism. There were no cults. There was nothing around. I didn't even know what the occult or even magic meant. To me, magic when I was a kid meant some dude pulled a rabbit out of its hat, or something like that. That's what magic meant to me. And yet, shortly after I saw this demon, shortly after, within months, I would say, I can't exactly, I mean, it was when I was a little kid, so I can't remember the exact timeline. Shortly thereafter, I actually got in trouble because I was drawing pentagrams everywhere. And I remember my mother told me not to do that, and I asked why, because I didn't know what it meant. I was just drawing them for some reason that I don't even know. She said, oh, well, people think we're witches or something to that effect. And, you know, of course, I am a witch in a way. I do practice the occult. I do believe that it works. I know a lot of people don't understand why I would think that because they're used to me being atheistic more and secular, and they say, well, how can you fall back into this trap of religion? I keep trying to tell them it's not religion. I keep trying to tell them I'm not a member of a coven or go to meetings or anything like that, and I don't believe in any of these gods, but they won't accept that. They want me to be completely secular like they are. Well, I'm not, at least in that sense. I do believe that there are forces beyond human imagination because I've actually seen them. If I hadn't sensed them and seen them myself, with my own waking eyes and heard them with my waking ears, I wouldn't believe in it any more than you do. I'm not expecting you to suddenly believe it without having a paranormal experience of your own. But if I were to deny that, I would live the rest of my life lying to myself. This is what I tell the Christians. I've told the Christians before, yes, I could pretend to worship Jesus. I could go to church. I could do everything that the Bible commands, but ultimately I'd be lying to myself because deep down inside I would still know that that God doesn't exist, that that figure of Jesus was nothing more than a charlatan if he ever existed. I tell the Muslims the same thing. I've told even people that I know quite well and that I have respect for and that are well known and that are into other religions. I've told them that I can't be a member of their religious order or partake in their religious rituals because to me, they don't make sense or I don't want to do them. I could lie to myself and I could do these things all day long. I could go to church 7 days a week. At the end of the week, I still wouldn't believe in Yahweh. So for the same reason, I tell these secularists, I've seen the occult work. I've convinced myself that it works because I've actually made it work. So if I were to abandon that and say, oh yeah, I'm going back to being just an atheist, fuck this, magic's not real, you know, there are no demons, there are no cosmic forces, I'm just going to live my boring life and die and then I'll stop existing, I could say that. I could act like it was true, but at the end of the day, I still wouldn't believe it. So what the fuck would the point be? And these people can't give me any more evidence than the Christians can as to why I should abandon my own path and follow theirs, because only for my own individual unique path do I have evidence. The Christians can't prove to me that Jesus even existed. The Muslims can't prove to me there's an Allah. The secularists can't prove to me that when I die I'm not going to reincarnate. So what's the point? I have my own beliefs. But when I was a child, there are some other things that happened that people haven't been aware One was apparently I flipped out at some point and was being aggressive or something. It's not exactly clear, and I can't remember this event. And I said something to the school therapist when I was a little kid. I said something along the lines of, "Hell will rise up and kill God." I said a bunch of things about the devil coming to my aid and things like that. Now, the normal response from quote-unquote normal people, Christian people essentially, would be, "Oh, he must have been abused by a satanic cult." But I'm telling you, I do have a good enough memory to know that I was never exposed to the Masons or some Illuminati order or to a bunch of devil worshippers, and I was living in the middle of nowhere in an area where there were never known to be any cults anyway. I don't even think I met a Wiccan until I was in 8th or ninth grade. And Wicca's mild compared to these other groups. Even the Wiccans didn't suffer as much as the Satanists did. And later on, I adopt Satanism. For a while there, for several years, I considered myself a Satanist. And I saw no evidence of abuse. If any abuse has ever occurred, it's not coming from atheistic Satanists. It's not even coming from spiritual Satanists. It's coming from basically depraved youths who believe in the Christian devil. That's another belief that I have. But I did say these things. I did see these things. There is something about my life. This is my belief. And in my last video, I know I said this already. I should probably say it again. If you say that you believe in magic, people will think you're weird. And if you think that you have magical powers or abilities or some sort of importance in the world, they'll call you a lunatic. But if you say that 2,000 years ago some prophet or healer or wise man or messiah had the same powers, people will assume you're normal. I don't look at it that way. I look at that's even more weird than the idea of magic. I believe that there is some sort of goal I'm supposed to fulfill in my life that I haven't quite figured out yet, that's been fated for me by some cosmic force. And I don't spend my time deluding myself into pretending to know what this is. I don't use it as an excuse to do evil things or to go around hurting people. But I do believe that there's some ultimate purpose, and by ultimate purpose, I don't mean something that I'm fated to definitely do, or definitely find out, or definitely partake in. I'm saying that there is a fate in place for something to possibly happen if I play my cards right. That's my belief, that there could be some importance to my existence. Most people don't consider themselves important. Even the Christians who believe that they have been fated from the day that they were born to achieve paradise and to worship Jesus. Even they preface that by saying, "But I'm not ultimately important. It's Jesus and God that's important. I'm along for the ride. I humble myself before your throne." And the reason why they preface it with that is because they don't want to be taken as lunatics. Because the ones that do consider themselves important sit there and rant and rave with the fire and brimstone, and they are crazy. They are quite literally insane. If I look at somebody like Bob Larson or Billy Graham, I say these people are insane. Either that or they're lying to people for money. And I think probably the latter is the case in more cases than not. But when I have these experiences, when I say these things as a kid, when I see literal demons, when I see wolves materializing in my window, and I'm not hallucinating, I'm not using drugs, I'm not drugged up on anything legal or illegal. I'm a little kid. I'm not dreaming at the time, and this is happening repeatedly. I don't have brain damage. I don't have some crazy neurological disorder, as proven by the fact that I went through all these tests because they were worried about such a thing. When that happens to be the case, I choose to believe that there's something fishy going on there. That's just what I believe. People they can't understand why I would believe, after having been a Christian and said, "Fuck that, I'm leaving Christianity because I don't believe in this bullshit." They couldn't believe that after having been an atheist, and an atheistic Satanist, they said, "Oh, well, that's kind of okay. You got some weird beliefs, but you're still an atheist like us, so that's okay." But when I returned to spirituality, when I started especially dabbling with psychedelics, which was sort of a good and sort of a bad idea in retrospect, some good experiences and some really shitty experiences, especially with spice. They can't understand why I would go back to believing in the spiritual. And it boils down, like I said, I can't deny what I have seen with my own eyes and what I have sensed with my own mind. I can't deny it. I'm not telling people to worship a specific god or say that I'm a prophet or say anything else like this, but for my own path, I have to follow where I am best led. I have to follow the path that to me looks right. That path happens to be different from people who take secularity very, very seriously. It happens to be different from people who are members of organized religions. I'm not going to go to church. If I did go to church, it would be to enjoy the music. I will admit, I like a good church service. I always think about, hijacking the organ and playing something satanic when I'm in a church. But, I've gone to church a few times in the last few years. Not in the last couple of years, obviously, but I went to church when I was down in Texas several times, and I enjoyed the Catholic Mass. I thought it was pretty fun. A little bit weird and superstitious. And all that fucking bending down really takes a toll on your knees, especially when they've got those little things underneath the seats. I'm still not exactly sure how you're supposed to use them. I think they're for your knees, and they're sort of a cushion, but you also use it as a footrest. I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure it has some deep, significant purpose, but it escaped me. But yeah, I mean, I believe in some spiritual concepts. I believe in the occult to an extent. I think there are a lot of charlatans in the occult. I think Crowley was chief among them, and that most modern occult works are completely useless because they've been tainted by his opioid rantings. Crowley, in order to practice magic, according to all legitimate older belief systems, you had to have a great deal of self-control and the potential to be abstinent from materialism for a long period of time to purify yourself before these sorts of rituals. Crowley spent all of his time stoned for the last few years of his life and quickly became a very fat little dwarven man who essentially wrote some books and smoked himself to death with opium. I choose to believe that somebody like that probably isn't that in tune to the occult, if indeed it exists in a realistic sense, because he doesn't appear to exhibit the characteristics of somebody who you would think was wise or enlightened or powerful in some way, and then died alone and cold with a I can't remember who it was who described it. It died alone and cold on opium with a couple cans of soup. I think that's exactly what he said. I find that very funny, so don't mind my goofy laugh. I can't control it. But yeah, those are some of my beliefs. I thought people should know, though, that I literally said things about the devil without really thinking about them when I was a little kid, and started drawing pentagrams everywhere. And the only thing I can think of that set it off was seeing this weird being floating around on my wall. Again, you can choose to believe I didn't see anything and that I was hallucinating or that I had fallen asleep and was dreaming. I have my reasons to believe that's not the case. But I believe in satanic power, not in the sense of the Christian devil, but as an archetype. I believe that there's some cosmic force there, and I'm exploring it fully. I'm delving deeper into darkness than you could possibly comprehend. What do you think I'm writing morbid stories for? But yeah, that's just a little bit of material there. Yet another rant. I'm bored right now. I was playing Victoria 2, and I got bored of crushing the Russians over and over because they can't fight back against united Germany. I got tired of fighting the French because they gave up Tunisia and now they don't have enough troops to oppose me. I already took over northern Italy. I mean, what's left? I'd have to attack the British and then I'd have to build a huge navy just to land troops on their little island. So I got bored very fast. And it's only the 1880s. Half the